Hi friends, this is Prasad. You're watching Power BI with Prasad. Today in this video, let's recreate or demystify one of the creation by Gustav Judek. Firstly, I just want to thank Gustav Judek for his great inspirational content, and let's try to demystify that and then recreate the scene in the Power BI right now. So here, this is how it looks like. And then firstly, let's understand what exactly is this. If you see this, I do have three different metrics. One is like sales, quantity, and profit. At the same time, I want to show based upon the period that was selected over here. At the same time, the entire information is shown in the combo chart. If you see here, this is the current period. And if you see, this period is the previous period, which is great. At the same time, I do have a moving average, the previous at the same time, the current as well. Right. So not only we have option to select between the periods, at the same time, we can select the metric as well, like whether we want to show the profit or the quantity, the sales. So how we can achieve this? Before going into the action, let's see first how the data model is. It's simple. One order table and the dimension table. And I want to create two disconnected tables. The very first one is the periods table. Let's go here. You can have a period table with all the selections that you want to have. At the same time, you need to have a sort order, which is used to sort how your values need to be displayed. And after that, if you see, that is what I used to get in my slicer. Let's try to build that one over here. So I just want to use my slicer. In my slicer, I want to have my periods. So if you see this is my slicer, and I want to have it single selection so that always will have only one selection. And after that, I want to create a parameter in which I can have my matrix which I want to have. Like if you see here, I have three metrics. One is sales, quantity, and profit. Based upon that, by selection on that, this visual shows that metric. So how to have that? Using field parameters. Simply how you can get the field parameters over here, go to modeling, and after that, go to new parameter and create field parameters. And after here, you can rename it as you need it, and you can select the measures that you want to have. Again, I do have three base measures, which is total profit, total quantity, and total sales. Simply take these three things based upon the sequential order which you want, and you can create it so that at the same time, like try to have a slicer over here, or else you can get that one later part also. But if you can make it from here, it will be easy for you. As I do have my parameter created, I'm not creating that, but I'll show it in the data view. So if you go for data view, and if you see the matrix, see this is my metric, all right? And right, if it is like total sales, you'll get it like that, and then you can rename it as you need it. And this is my fields, and this is the order that I do have, right? So once I created the matrix parameter, field parameter, then, right, okay, what we need to do is we need to create a new slicer. Again, I just want to use the new slicer over here, and in this, right, I simply wanted to have the metrics. Once you get the parameters into the slicer, then you need to edit it as needed. So let's go and see like how we need to do it. Like firstly, like it need to be a single selection, even this one also. Right, and right, we can have a fourth selection also at the same time, like my The shape, I just wanted to have it as a rounded rectangle. I can go with rounded rectangle, and the corners I need, which are like 10 to 15, I can go with like 15 also, but let's go with like 10, right? And then afterwards, layout, right? Okay, it can be a grid. Okay, you can leave it, but okay, if needed, you can make it a single row, because actually this is a single row, and based upon the parameters or values, like it will automatically select how many buttons that I need to show. But the space between this, I just want to make it minimum of 15, so that we'll have enough space between the slices. And after that, we will go to the next, right, which is the callout. As I don't want to have any callouts or names over here, I'll just write, okay, for all the types, like I don't want to have any values and labels, like not only for default, for all the like others, I just want to make it off, right? So once after the callout, let's go for the next images. Like I don't want to have any images over here, so I'm not going to have any images. Simply, I'll leave this select section, and then I'll go for buttons. This is what that we need to concentrate on. So if you see here, right, okay, so I'll go for a default, like in default, like this is how it looks like, and this is how like the pressed look like. Okay, so I don't want to have this color. Okay, my border, again, in default, like when it is not selected, I just want to go for a lighter color. Okay, this one, and 1 pixel is enough for this. And then let's go for fill, like which is not this color, but let's go with another color. And then after, let's make the transparency to not 100, but just a little bit of 98, which will gives a very light color. So if you see here, when I'm hovering, like you'll be able to see that change. And after that, I don't want to have any of the shadows, glues, or accent bars over here. But okay, we need to go for the selected. When I selected, okay, my border need to be blue color, and it need to be 3 pixels, right? So if you see here, this is how it looks like when it is selected. You'll have a border, and at that particular point, like even though the fill is okay the same color, but I want to have 100% transparency, because I want to show whatever the value that is there behind this. So that is what that we are doing, right? Okay, I'll explain that, right? So like in a minute, I'll explain you why we need to have it transparent, because behind this, we want to place some card visuals so that we can build this particular visual. So let's go here again. And once after this process, right, okay, once after this, again, we have some other things that we need to change here, right? Okay, so fill, we made it. And again, on hover, right, okay, we can make some changes over here as per our need, right, while we hover or how we need it. So I just want to have a little bit, right, okay, more. Okay, when I hover, okay, the fill color need to be like this one with this percentage. So when I hover, okay, it need to be more darker. That's how. Right, okay. At the same time, like the border need to be this color, but okay, a little bit darker. Again, it's completely our wish. Like if you don't want to go with this, okay, right, you can go with this, and then only a slight little bit of color transparency like applied over here, and then press. Right, okay. So I know this one. Right, okay. So when I press, right, I just want to make it a little bit more color. So fill, right, okay, and then same border, but this time I want to make it 95. When I click it, for that instant, it will show a little bit darker color. So this is the formatting settings that we need to do. Again, in general, I don't want to have any titles for this, and FX, I don't want to have any borders. And then again, you can remove header icons if not necessary. So, right, okay, let it be like this for a while, and then I'll come again with the other things. Right, so after finishing these two things, right, okay, maybe we need to go with a combo chart. This is what line and stack column chart, a combo chart, right? So I just want to get a combo chart over here. Simply And we can align all of these, okay, later once we build these things. Hope you understand, right? So here, what I need is, I need to have the metric which I select over here from these parameter slicer. At the same time, for that period which was selected from this previous selection, right? Both things need to work. So firstly, I just want to have, right, okay, the metrics which are the total sales, right? If you see here, total sales, total profit, and then total quantity, which is nothing but the sum of sales, sum of quantity, and the profit. So let me zoom it a little bit, right? Hope you're able to see it. These three measures. I just want to take these measures and then which I use to create the parameter over here. And then afterwards, I want to find, right, based upon the selection from this parameter, I want to find which metric that I want to populate in my visual. So for that, I want to create a measure, which is like selected measure. You can see the selected measure, right? Okay, I've created variables to make it a little bit easier for you people to understand. So which is very simple, like selected value from the parameter order. Again, I don't want to take the parameter directly. I want to take the order because it is a little bit simpler to write, okay, using the order. So I just want to take the order, right, which you can see here, this order, right? Okay, based upon this, I want to switch. If it is 0, that's sales, 1, that's quantity, and then if it is 2, that's profit. That's how I would just want to do it. So selected measure, right? Okay, selected value of the order, and based upon whenever it is 0, I want to return the total sales. If my metric, okay, this selected value is 1, I want to use my total quantity measure, and then if it is 2, I want to use my profit, which is used using the switch function in the Dax. Once after this, like it's very simple, right? Okay, so I'll showcase you with some card visual simply, right? I just want to take the card visual here, and then I want to place it here, right? Okay, see, right now you're able to see the quantity, and then if it is, that is sales, and if it is, that is quantity, and if it is, right, that is profit, right? So you're able to see that. This is how it happens. So, right, okay. Right now, after selecting, getting the value from the selection of this slicer, we need to have apply the slicer from this. Like it means for this particular period, I want to find that particular metric value. If I select sales, right, I want to have sales for whatever the period that was selected. For if I select last 7, I want to see for the current 7 as well as the last 7. If you see here, when I select last 14, I was able to see, okay, this is the maximum date, okay, that I do have in my sales table, orders table, right? So fact table. And so from the max date, I want to show the last 14 days, at the same time, the previous 14 days, right? Okay, so the current 14 days, the current period, and the previous period as well. So this is how I need to create. So for that, first let's try to create how we can make it for the current period, and then we'll understand how to make it for the previous period, and then again we'll create a combination of both these two periods. So first, how we need to get that solution? It's simple. So firstly, let's go and see the current period metric. So if you see here, it looks a little bit bigger, but it's very simple as I try to write it in variables. You can see here the period, whatever the order that was selected from the metric. So that's what I've taken in the period. Okay, in this variable, I'll get the selected order of the selected metric, and then min date. I want to find the min date of my sales order, at the same time, the max date of my sales orders table, right? So again, at the same time, like we'll generally have filters from dim date. So I just want to remove filters from the dim date so that I can get exactly the maximum sale order date. Right. So again, we can create the end date also. Again, this is nothing but if my max date is less than today, I'll use the max date, which is this one. If it is not, then I'll use today. Again, this kind of functionality that we can use when our refresh date is periodically, if it is d minus x, some days, sometimes like in some tables when we have like future date also. Let us suppose a target table where I do have future dates also. Then I don't want to show that future dates, but I want to show only from today. So these kind of scenarios we can use this particular end date logic, but in this scenario I'm not using that. I just, for the sake of like the other purpose, right? Okay, I've been created it and then kept it, right? So right. So, and then two things that we want to know how to build this particular, all right, logic of this particular measure. So one thing is like we already got the metric, like which metric that we want to use, right? And then, right, even like, okay, if we are using, right, see, if we are using this kind of right, calculation at that period, we don't even need, right, the period also. We don't need this period if we want to go with this calculation. I'll just explain you like rather than going too fast, right? So first, for this selection, right, if I select the last 7 days, I need to give my calculation a filter of the dates which are like last 7 days from the max date. The max date is 22nd September. From this date, I want to go to like 7 days back, and then I want to give the 7th day from this date. Again, make sure that you are giving 7th day. It means max date minus 7 minus 1 will gives you the 7th day of right, okay, that particular period. So simply I'll go here again. So current period metric. And if you see here, the start date, right? Okay, so I want to find my start date, which is like max date whenever the period, again, if you see here, right? Okay, period is used in the switch function. Whenever my period, which is the sort order is 1 in that particular scenario, right? The max date minus 6 date, which will gives me one period, like the 7 days of time. Like if you see here, so 22nd is my max date and 16th is my, right, okay, 1 week back, 7 days before, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But if you subtract 7, it will go for 15th, which is like the previous week's last day. So I just want to have from 16 to 22, right? Okay, so for that, what we need to do is whatever the max date, from that date, I want to go for 6 days back, which will gives me start date for last 7 days period. So anyhow, the max date of my sales order is going to be my end date. But okay, I need to have the start date also. If you see here, right, okay. Every time for the selection, right, okay, the max date is like the same, right, okay. But from this date, like based upon the selection, we need to go these many days back. So for that logic, right, simply, right, okay, if the selection is second, right, okay, I need to go max minus 3 because it is like for last 14 days, but for last 30 days, it is like max minus 29. In the same way for 90 days, for 180 days. But when it comes to like YTD, again, sixth option is the YTD. It means from the max date, like, okay, so it need to be, we need to go to the starting of the day, year starting. So what I did is like max date, year of max date, which will gives me the year of the current date. And I've added like 1st of January, and I've converted that into a date format. So which will gives me January 1st of that particular current year. So from that date up to the max date, I want to have all dates. So for that period, I want to have my sales. So again, this is like last 365, and again, this is nothing but all, right? Okay, so from all dates, right? Okay, so from min date to max date. And after that, again, this gives me a period of dates, a table of dates, right? So again, this is start date. So again, sorry, this is the start date, and we do have the max date, which is like end date. So between these two dates, I want to calculate the metric which we get from the selection of the slicer. So we can calculate it. It's very simple. Calculate selected measure, whatever the measure that was selected in the slicer through the field parameter. So I want to calculate that, but not for all the dates, only. So keeping the filter from these two dates. It means dates between from the dim date, from the start date to end date. Based upon the selection, the start date and end date will get calculated from these variables. And for those dates only, I want to have this. So this is how we can have the current period matrix. In the same way, the previous period metric, again, this is a little bit tricky. So earlier we used right max date as the end date, but here when we go for the previous period, right, if you see this period, which is nothing but 1 day previous to the 1 day previous to the start date of my current period. Whatever the current start date of my current period, from that date I want to go 1 day back. That will be my end date, and from that date I need to go again back to those many days. So for this example, right, if you see here 22nd, right, is my max date, and right, if I go 6 back tag, which is like 7 days, which gives me the 16th, which is like the current period. But the previous period is nothing but 1 day back. Like this is the end date of the previous period. From this date, I need to go these many days, right, back, which is the previous period time period. So for this particular thing, we need to create again start date, which is nothing but right just whatever from the max date I need to go right double minus 1, right? Okay, for 7 days, right, which is nothing but double minus 1. All right. The same way, right? 14 days, right? Okay, 14 into double, right? Okay, which will come to here, but again minus 1, right? Okay, in the same way we need to calculate, but here if you see here, what we need to do for the YTD is nothing but we need to calculate the number of days from the year start to the max date of our sales, and those many days that we need to go back from the year start. That is how we need to do it. Simple. Don't get worried, right? Okay, I'll try to understand you first. I'll try to find how many days we have from year to date, right? Okay, it's simple, right? From this is nothing but the start of year that we already discussed. From this date, the max date, okay, number of days between these 2 days, right? I use a date difference function, which will determines the difference between 2 dates, which is nothing but the start of year and the max date in the form of days. How many days are there between these 2 dates, right? Okay, so this is what it gives me, the day in the form of days. So then I want to subtract those many days from the start of year. Again, this is nothing but the start of year. From that date, I want to subtract. So if you see here, I'll make it very clear. So year to date. So this is right my max date. This is my January 1st. So how many days are there in between this? I'll go back from the start of date these many days. So I'll get this endpoint, right? This which is nothing but the starting point of my previous period, and year start will become the endpoint of my previous period. So again, I understand we are taking too much time here, but okay, these two measures are more important. At the same time, I don't want to show that anything for the previous period for the all. Whenever I select all, I don't want to show. So for that reason, I just made min minus 1. Here, we can't take max date as the end date because that is for the previous period. So what is this? Like it's simply right. The earlier as for the start date, we made it max date minus 6 for the current period, but right now we want to go 1 day back, so which is nothing but max day minus 7. The same way for the 14 days, max minus 14, so which will gives us the end date, right? From this is what we call it as start period, and whatever the center is there, that point we'll call it as end date for the previous period. Again, the same way, like calculate the selected measure, whatever the measure that was selected from the slicer, right? Okay, this slicer. At the same time, I don't want to get the sales for or this metric value for all the dates. I want to have it only for the selected period through the start date and end date, which we can achieve through like dates between, which will gives a table of dates, and I want to keep it as filters for this particular measure calculation. Simply if it is bank, okay, then 0 or not, then show me this result. So this is how it was created, but okay, I didn't use those two measures over here. Again, looks funny, but seeing, okay, I want to create another measure which will have all the dates from here to here, not just here, or not just here, from the max date to like this dates, which is nothing but when I select 7 days, it's all together like 7 plus 7, 14 days. So how we can create? So if you see here, previous, the start date will be like max date minus 13, max date minus this, which is nothing but the start date of the previous at the same time, right? Okay, here the end date will be the max date. So the same logic that we discussed earlier, right? And here I don't want to make any, right? Okay, zeros or something else. I just want to show only the sales for these dates. For all others, I just want to keep it empty, right? So I've dropped that measure right here in this one. Right? If you see here in this one, I've dropped this measure. What's happening? Why we are not getting anything? Because here we need to have the axis. Simply go to the dim date, and again, dim date is nothing but the date table that you do have. I want to have the dates. Sorry, I want to have the dates, and I don't want to have the hierarchy. I just want to go with my dates. If you see here, right? Okay, I have all my dates, right, from 22nd to like 9th. Right, which is like the current period and the previous period, to define to show the difference, like whether it is a current period or previous period. We can differentiate using like a line that I want to show it here, which will differentiates the previous period and current period. How can do that? How can get like, which is nothing but right, exactly the starting day, or sorry, the end date of the previous period. So here I want to show, right, a line, right? So we can do it simply using the mid date. Again, the mid date, again, so all these things are common, but the thing is, right, I just want to go 7 days back whenever it is 7 days, 14 days back whenever it is like 14 days period. So in the same way, I want to go to the like starting, right? Okay, so ending dates again, which is like if you go for previous period metric, right? Previous period metric endpoints. So again, these things I used here, and right, I want to have the start date. Again, here I want to have the date, not the result of any metric. So I use this particular in my constant line. I want to add a line, and now this one I want to use fx over here, and I want to have my mid date and click OK. I'll have a constant line, and then you can have it as you need it, at the same time not dashed, right? Okay, a solid line. Transparency, you can decide how much you want, and then I want to have the shaded area, not this much, but I want to have it a little bit like this, right? And then the transparency, you can decide how much you want to have, which will, right, at the same time like this. All right, okay, lines over here, right? Okay, I don't want to have it that color, so that I'll change it to another color. Okay, not exactly this one. maybe a little bit this one approximately. Again, we can decide like which one that we wanted to have it. Right. So let's keep it like that. And then afterwards, right. Once we got this date difference, okay, so we want to have something else, which is what we call it as moving average, right? So how to get this moving average? It's simple, right? Okay, so average dates between, okay. So again, I just want to find, okay, 14 days median, right? Moving average. If you want to make it dynamic, right? Okay, you can have an numeric parameter, and then you can have the value from that parameter, which will gives you a dynamic, average. At the same time, I want to calculate for the selected measure, whatever the measure, like for that moving average of sales, if the sales is selected from the slides, or the profit or the quantity. So once, okay, the average is calculated, again, that need to be calculated only for the selected period, not for everything. So we can do it simply the previous period, again, the same logic that we discussed earlier, but in the end, right? Okay, so again here, like, don't need this again, right? If you see here, either, right, okay, you can use this exactly, or else you can have the same logic, right, inside a variable, and you can use it. If my dim date, whatever selected date, it means it will check for each and every date. And if it is in between the dates which is selected from the period, then I want to show the moving average, or else I don't want to show the moving average. Again, as I said, like you can either take it from here inside, or else you can take it from the outside, but preferably from inside. Just to showcase, right, I created another measure, right, tube, right. And after that, like simply drop that one. So here in the lines, right, okay. So I'll showcase the the current periods also, but again, as we discussed earlier, the period, for whatever the period, can have that same thing. Again, here, just for your sake, okay, I've been used 14D MA, right? Again, at this point, if you are using the outside measure, these variables are not needed, right? Right. Hope you understand, right? Right. Let's use these two metrics that measures in the lines of this two, right? Okay, 40 days. Okay, and then previous period, which will gives you the lines like this, right? Okay, again, as per your need, you can change the color, and then you can change the width of this. Simply go to here, and then lines. Okay, so line colors. Okay, so my previous period line color, okay, width need to be 1 point or 2 points, and then the width need to be, okay, something stronger, I hope, right? Okay, so maybe this one. And okay, for the other line, I just want to make it this color, but this time, right? Okay, a little bit, not 4 or 5 points, like this, right? Okay, just on your requirement, you can make it. Else, like, I just want to make it like this. Okay. And after that, right, I don't want to have the titles, right, for this, right? And then again, if you wanted to show the tooltips, again, you can create. If you wanted to have a custom tooltip, you can have the custom tooltip, or else, right, you can have it, you can leave it. So again, the other things that we wanted to have here is, like, if you see here, the values, like a lot of other values. Okay, at the same time, like I want to have this moving average label over here, right? Okay, so what we can do is simply x-axis, I don't want to have the labels, and then the y-axis, I don't want to have the labels over here, and then values, switch the axis position to the right side, and you can go here and series label. If you see the 14, the previous period, I don't want to have this, right? Okay, for the previous period, I don't want to have any label, but the current period, I want to have a background, which is like this color, and then, right, okay, so this title need to be, right, okay, white color, which it gives me, but I don't want to have this much. So what I'll do is, I'll go to here and then convert this to like, okay, MA, right, okay, the naming convention, I'll convert this to MA, so that I'll have only MA here, and, okay, the labels, that if you see, the right, and then not auto, right, okay, so just want to have it a little bit more, so that I have enough space. 4 is enough, I hope, right? So this is how, right, you can decide the line colors, whatever, the line color that you wanted to have. Okay, so I don't want to have this color, I want to have this color itself, right? And then you can have the same color for the series labels also, for not just one MA. The background need to be this color, okay, so that it gives you the clear idea on this. Right, and then right, simply go to this, and then I don't want to, again, whether you wanted to have it on the plain background, you can keep it, or else if needed, not necessary. And then borders, I want to have it at least 5 rounded. It's too small, so we'll go here, general format, sorry, FX, background, and let's make it like 15. Okay, that's pretty good. And then for this one also the same way, right? We can have a visual border, right? And then round at 15, right? Not this way, right? Okay, let's have it this color, and then the same way, let's have it this color, which will give us a smaller background. Again, here I just want to have the grids, let it be, but okay, I don't want to have the listens over here, but I want to have the title, right? Okay, right. Now let's keep the title, okay, as it is. Later will come and adjust that. At the same time, I just want to have the divider, right? So spacing, let's make it 5, that's fine, okay. And let's come back and then, right, okay, it's nothing but simply a selected measure that we can have it from here. Right. This, right, okay, so and close it, right, okay, FX, right. This exactly, right, just a minute, right. So let's go and directly see here what has been done. Here, simply sales, right? Okay, so go to here, general, title, graphics, nothing but first of like metric parameter, right? Whatever the parameter, because always it is a single selection. So whatever the metric parameter that we do have in the metric parameter, that will be like simply, right? Okay, right. We didn't create any measure for this, simply directly use this particular general text, and then again metric parameter, right? Okay, which will gives you the sales, and then I want to have it in the center, right? Let's have it in the center, and then you can decide whatever the font and then whatever the color that you want to have. Generally, like let's go with the same color that we already have and a little bit bold, right? And not too big, not to be too small, right? And then afterwards, the key things, right? Okay, the divider that I don't want to have it this color, simply go ahead and then title, right? Okay, so the divider, I don't want to have it this one, I want to have it the same color, right? That I've been using for my borders and everything. And then afterwards, okay, the key thing, right? If you see here, right? Okay, so even though that I'm selecting, right? The metric, but the values behind that, okay, the values that you're able to see are not changing. The metric is getting right, filtered only into this particular visual. So how it happens, right? How we are able to show these values in the slicer. Again, actually, the logic is we are not having anything in the slicer, but behind the slicer, we are placing some card visuals. Again, that too not getting interacted with the slicer which is placed above. If you want to see here, right, if you see, right, I'll have the selection pane. If you see, I have created groups, and then, okay, the upper one is the slicer, which is like metric parameter, and then the bottom I have 3 card visuals. Again, if you see, one for sales, one for quantity, and one for, right, the profit card. Again, I don't want to create 3 of them. I want to create one of them, and then I'll copy paste, and then how we set that one for each and every metric. Are we creating 3 different measures for each of these? No, we are not going to create, but with the existing one set of measures, we are going to have all of this. How we can do this? Simply, let's go here and then let's try to create a card visual. So until then, right, okay, let's try to create somewhere here. So I'll grab a new card visual. Simply, let's try to create this site for now. Right, okay, so let me create this card visual, and I want to have my, right, metric, whatever the metric that we want to have. So if you see here, simple, the first value is the sales of the current period, and the second one is the difference from the current period and then previous period. Again, the previous period I want to show in the bottom. At the same time, how many days, period, how many days, like based upon the selection, I want to have this information also dynamically. And this is nothing but the growth, whether from the previous to current period, whether it was grown, right, okay, or not, and then how much percentage it is, right, compared to the previous period. So these couple of measures that will create, or that we'll see right now, which is nothing but, again, the current period sales, right? Okay, so which is, where is this current period metric, right? This is the sales, right? If you see here, I don't want it to have, right, anything like sales or something else. Again, this is something different, right? Okay, I'll show you, right? Okay. I want to show the sales simply. So how I can do that? Simply, right. So this is the slicer, and then I'll go here, the callouts. I don't want to have any callouts. I don't want to have any callouts. But the label also, I don't want to have anything. The layout, right? If you see here, I just want to make it center for all. Current period, right? Also, right? I don't want to have any labels for now, but I want to have some reference labels. Like here, I just want to use the current period again, current period, right? Metric, which is the current period. Again, for this metric, again, the next value that I want to have is the previous period. I have 2 things. And for these 2 things, I don't want to show any values. I don't want to show any of the values, right? Okay, I mean like the titles, right? Sorry, the values will be shown here. And then for that, I want to have the details. Again, based upon the selection, like, okay, for the current period, I want to have the difference between the current and the previous. So again, we have a measure created, which is like current period metric minus previous period metric, which will gives us the difference. This measure I want to use as the detail. So current period difference. Okay, so right. This is the difference. And I want to find the growth. Again, growth. You see here the current period, current versus previous difference, which is nothing but the earlier one. And then afterwards, previous period divided by previous period metric, like current minus previous divided by previous period. Again, the default alternate value is 0, right? And then afterwards, I want to use this growth measure here. Right, we have used there we are. Again, sorry, not directly, as we don't have any option to have the growth, the difference and the growth as two different details. What we can do is, right, current period label detail. For this detail, I want to create a measure, right? Switch function, very simple. If my, right, okay, so firstly, I want to have this difference. Again, I want to format it. I don't want to directly get the value. So again, the current versus period, if it is -2, like again, right, I need to check whether it is like minus, like negative value or positive value. If it is between -1,000 to like 1,000, like I will show it in like, all right, -1,000 to 1,000, -10,000 to like this is how like that we create a formatting switch, which will gives us the formatted the current and previous period different. And for that, I want to like concatenate formatted growth in the percentage, and I want to have the growth icon. Like, what is this? Growth icon is nothing but whenever the difference is greater than 0, I want to have upper arrow. When this period is less than 0, then I want to have the down arrow. So combining all these things, if you see here, the dynamically formatted difference, current versus previous, and then the growth in percentage. Again, when we directly use the growth, okay, it will gives a bigger number, but I want to have it in the percentage, right? As in general, if we use that directly, we can, but if we use the measure directly, we can format it from here. But as we are using combining with other measures, and then we are converting as a string, because we are concatenating it. We wanted to format it, and then we need to use it. That's the reason why the formatted current versus previous difference and formatted percentage and some space. If you see, this is the pipe symbol between the difference and then growth, and then afterwards some space and then icon. So this particular measure I want to use in this particular place. Right, let's go and see how it looks like. This is how it looks like. And then afterwards here, okay, so I want to create a label detail the previous period, which is nothing but selected period, right? Okay, based upon the period selection, like how many periods are there, like period 7, period 14, prior 30 days, prior 90 days, prior 180 days. Like this is how I've created a measure, right? And then this particular text I want to show just beside this as a detail. So for this particular value, previous period metric, I can have the previous period label detail as, so if you see here, that's how it looks like. And then this values that I want to have it in center, right? So let's go to like the card, and then alignments, let's make it center. And then I don't want to have any background. I don't want to have any border for this. right? And then, right, let's come here, and then let's see here, the reference labels all, right, okay? So I don't want to have any background, right? And then layout will be center, and then center, and spacing, okay, based upon our requirement, we can have a spacing, whatever that we want to have. But I want to have some values, which is nothing but the sales here, as we want to create three different uh, card visuals, then simply go to here and then, right, okay, see, sorry, right. Sales, and then afterwards come back again here to the formatting settings, and then, right, I want to have label. That's fine, I got the label, but okay, I'll increase the size and then let's make it. But see here, even though that you are making center, you can't get that from center because this is the tricky thing. You need to have the value, but we need to make it the transparency to this one. So we can't see that one. At the same time, I want to make it to the minimum value so that I'll have something. And then here, if I make it center, that is how we can have the title, the label also into the center. Just beside this, we can have some icons simply. And if you want to make it a little bit bigger, the label, okay, 15, you can decide, okay, in which color that you want to show it. Okay, I want to make it in this color, a little bit bigger, sales, and then just beside this one, right, okay, I want to have an image, not just sales, but okay, I want to have an image. Then again, you can browse the image from icons, and then simply go and get, but there are a lot of websites where you can get some icons, right? Okay, so which is sales. So again, you can, where is the sales icon? This is a plain black one. Want to have a blue one, select, right? I don't want to have this much bigger, right? Okay, so what I can do is not just auto size, but I want to have it at 25. And again, that to left of my text, right? And based upon our requirement, okay, you can make the space, right? And right, you can do a lot of other settings, right? Whether you want to make it a little bit upper or downer. So all these things that you can make it, right? I don't want to make it too. This will gives you the space between this, right? This is above text, okay, this is like below, okay, but I just want to have it in the left side of the text, right? So, and after that, so we will switch off all the backgrounds and all these things as in bars, right? But now, and again, I don't want to have any borders for this. And if you want to make it 40 to 60%, the layout that you can decide, right? Okay, call out and then layout. I want to have it to 40%. So that the upper value will be will be 40%, and then the downward space that we'll have will be right 60%. At the same time, if you observe the layout, okay, the color of this detail and then label need to be changed based upon the value. If it is positive, it need to be green. If it is negative, it need to be the red color. how we can make it? Simply go to the reference labels for this particular, just for all, for sales, right? And then for okay, sales, right? Sorry, the sales. Yes, the upper one is the sales that we modified. So that one, so value need to be fx. Then I've created a color whenever it is greater than one color, whenever it is this one, another color. So if you see here, so we need to get the color here, which is simply growth color. It actually need to be, it should not be for the growth. Okay, the value it need to be right. Or else like if you wanted to have it for both these two, right? Okay, let's see how it was designed. Like I don't want to have the value for my sales, but only for the difference and then the percentage I want to show the value. So for that, what we can do is I can remove that setting from my reference labels, okay, values, okay, but I want to have that one for my detail, right? Okay, for my detail, I want to have the growth color. And at the same time, right, we can increase the font, or else we can make it bolder for both values, right? And uh, the details, but I want to leave it as it is, right? I don't want to make it bolder, right? This is how, right, we can create a card, and then afterwards, right, I'll bring this one to here, and then I'll expand this one to here, right? And then we'll decide like from where to where that we want to have it. And then afterwards, I have my card here. Then I will want to make it as per the size required. That's supposed like that, right? And then if you wanted to have, don't want it to have the background also, you can remove it, right? So for an instance, let's switch off metric, right? And then Control C, Control V. I want to have two more instances copies of this, and then paste it wherever you need it, right? Simple, right? Select all these three and then go for format and then align, distribute horizontally. For now, right, we'll make it here. We'll display it and then align it exactly how we need it. So the card, third card, right? Okay, this is the first, this is the second, and then this is the third, right? Okay, I want to align it exactly how I need. So go here, properties, and then position. Let's make it a little bit left side. Center of the card visual. Right. You can increase the size as per your need, trying to keep it as, then afterwards simply off this, and then all these three selected, and then again format, align horizontally. And then afterwards, if you see here, right now, I was able to see the sales. But right, what I'll do is, right, that's fine. I'll go for the parameter that I've been, right, I'll use it as a filter. And again, so here, why I was able to see only the profit, even though that states the sales, I was able to see the profit. The logic, right, is the slicer is, which is the parameter slicer that we do have here, is filtering the values. Right now, if you look, right, as we placed exactly, if you see here, we will feel like we do have the card kind of values in a slicer, but actually not, right? We do have the card space behind and the slicer above, right? Okay, that is how that we need to place, but actually we didn't yet placed, right? Because, right, okay, I want to place it above, and then I want to group these three cards so that they'll not get, and then again group it above, and then again these two. I want to group it again so that the alignment will not get disturbed. First thing, right? And then right now, like, let's go here and then see my second card. And that I want to select this. I want to make it as sales, the title, right? Okay, the second one is quantity, right? And then afterwards, let's go to the third one, which is like the top one. And then for that, I want to make it as profit, name changing. That's it. Simply profit. But how actually, not just changing the title, but the values also need to be changed. How we can do it? The first thing is, I don't want my card visuals interact with my slicer. So what I can do is select slicer, and then for now, let's bring the place of that one to the little bit 36. Right, okay, so that I'll get that one a little bit down. Right, that is my slicer. Properties to all the group, but that particular one, properties, position, and 56, let's hope, right? Or else like let's make it like 96, so that we'll get that one bottom, right? Okay, so right now, once it is selected, go to format and then edit interaction. I don't want my cards interact with this. I don't want to have interaction with this. But what I want to have, if I don't get interacted with this one, then the cards will not show the right values. So what we need to do is, let's go to my first card and let me place this, okay, slicer on the place of it, right? Okay, so the right place, what I mean to say is 16, right? Exactly, it came to the right place, and then interactions, right? Format, get interactions off, and then afterwards the first card, this is the first card, open it, and then afterwards the matrix. And right now, if you're earlier, I was unable to see all these three values because at that time we do have interaction from the slicer to cards. Right now, interaction was not there for my sales. So for this, I want to have the sales. If you see, I'm getting the sales. The middle one is for quantity. The same thing, just I want to have it here. And then quantity values again. For this particular 7 days, earlier quantity is also 140. The current period quantity is also 140. That's the reason why we are unable to see the difference. So for the 14 days, we'll be able to see that. Let's go and see last card. Let's sorry, this one. And then again, the parameter, and then select the profit. Right now, right, if you're able to see this, exactly what we needed. Again, so again, alignments, right? You can do it as needed, right? Okay, so maybe, right, we need to have this profit a little bit. As we already grouped that, total, I'm moving the total group. So it's better to have, sorry, right, okay. So maybe I'll increase from here and then place here, and then maybe actually this spacing need to be adjusted very carefully so that the spacing between these values are equal. Spacing here, 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 actually, right? Okay, that we can do a little bit later. If you see here, when I click quantity, right, we will be able to see the quantity again for last 365, but let's see like for the last 30 days, this is how it looks. And then for sales, you'll be able to see the sales. For profits, you'll be able to see the profits. But one thing that we forgotten is like, okay, I want to name it. So how we can do it? So go here. The previous period, I want to name it, right? Okay, the visualization here, and then constant value, I want to have it like year period, and then I want to have the data label, right? Not just the value, but the name, right? So here again, the color that you can have it not exactly in this color, a little bit darker, so that you'll be able to see the name. Or else like you can go for the darker color, which you have, which you're using, right? Previous period. And did we left anything that we need? Let's go and see. Oh, the previous period, okay, again, right? Okay, so again, secondary, if you wanted to delete the secondary access, you can delete it, right? Or else you can have it. So it's completely your wish whether you wanted to have the access or not, right? Right. Mhm. You see here, when you hover, the color changes a little bit, and then right, when you selected that, it will be very black, and then make sure, right, okay, you need to be make sure that the slicer's background need to be switched off, or else like you're unable to see the values when it is not selected, right? I hope you understand everything and how it works, and a lot of other like formatting modifications that you need, that you can do it and then have, right, this kind of, right, if you wanted to have a background, you can have a background from here. I had a background which will shows white space with all the namings, so I had it and then I got it from there. If you don't want to have any background, it's simply you can leave it. And okay, as per your need, you can change a lot in the colors, the formatting, and all other things. Hope you liked it, right? And please don't forget to like and share. I understand this went a little bit bigger, but I want to explain you each and every point over here. I'll come up with another interesting scenario. So please don't forget to like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.